And good morning, I'm Richard Rose. Welcome to Exit 1055 Long Island. This is your TV 1055 show about all things Long Island. In just a few minutes, meet some of the amazing men who built the lunar module right here on Long Island, the engineering whizzes who first helped to put men on the moon, and we'll take a look at some of those marvelous historic images. But we begin, unfortunately, with what is a yearly summertime tragedy that we hope to avoid but still too often see in our waters. A 12-year-old boy recently losing his life in a terrible accident in Suffolk County. The child struck by a propeller during a sailing lesson at the Centerport Yacht Club. Exit 1055's Tony Aiello has more.
Members left Centerport Yacht Club in stunned silence, saddened beyond words at the death of a 12-year-old boy.
I feel terrible for the boy. I feel terrible for his parents and grandparents. What a tragedy. Who would ever think that something like this could happen on just for a sailing lesson?
The kid falling out of the boat and then getting into the propeller, it was awful.
Suffolk County Police say the victim was with two other youngsters at a sailing lesson in Northport Harbor. It was a man overboard drill. The boat was capsized intentionally. We're told two of the students remained with the sailboat. An 18-year-old instructor safely pulled the young victim into a Zodiac inflatable boat equipped with an outboard motor. That's when tragedy struck. As the inflatable accelerated, the boy fell over the side and into the motor.
He became entangled in the propeller, causing massive injuries to the chest.
First responders rushed the boy to Huntington Hospital, where he died with family at his bedside. Police have spoken with the 18-year-old instructor and say he is traumatized.
The 18-year-old, oh my goodness, this will be with him for the rest of his life, I'm sure.
Now, police say the other children on the water did not require medical attention, but an instructor who performed CPR on the victim went into shock and had to be taken to the hospital, really underscoring the risk. Now, there have been numerous deadly boating safety accidents throughout the years, including several children drowning on the 4th of July when their boat capsized. And then as far back as 2005, the story of Brianna Lineck, the 11-year-old Deer Park girl who was killed by the bow of a careening boat that broadsided her family's vessel in the Great South Bay. The family's push for justice since has resulted in what's now known as Brianna's Law. And we welcome to the show Gina Lineck. She is Brianna's mom, who's long waged a campaign for boat safety, and also Richard Warner, who is an instructor who offers courses in boating safety. First off, welcome to the show. And it's a terrible day that you never forget.
No.
No. And, you know, and I know it's never easy for you to talk about it, but we've gone to all the events that you bravely go to in public. Many people might never want to appear in public again after something like that. And yet people have been moved by what happened to Brianna. So what is Brianna's Law?
I worked with Steve Israel in Washington on Brianna's Law. It's a federal law where boating safety classes would be mandatory for everybody in every state.
Now, it got a lot of coverage at the time, and it passed the House at the time, but then what happened to it?
It just sat in Senate and didn't move forward.
The U.S. Senate?
U.S. Senate.
Why is that? Maybe, Rich, you can help us out with that. You just became a political football?
Yeah, I think so. They have a lot on the plate, and there's only so much time they have to hear certain things, and I guess there just wasn't enough interest at that level.
Well, what would it have accomplished, Brianna's Law? What was the intent of it? What was it that then didn't get approved by the Senate, never became law?
It would have helped, at least the boaters would have been educated, had some knowledge of the waterways.
What would be required if it had been passed? What would it be addressing? Because right now, I think what you're saying is the laws don't require enough people to get licenses or at least proper instruction, right? What would this law have done, Richard?
Yeah, currently the laws only require folks that are under 21 to take a course to operate a powerboat.
And that's not a number that doesn't change. That's just an arbitrary cutoff right now because when they passed the law in New York State about this, it started with people who were born after 1996. So right now, that's anyone under the age of 21. There's a lot of people that are running boats that are older than 21, no?
But
correct. The majority of powerboat operators are actually middle-aged.
And are they all? Do they all know what they're doing?
A small portion of them do, and certainly those that I hope have taken up courses know a great deal more. But there are so many boaters out there that just don't have the basic knowledge they need to boat safely.
I can remember being a young person and someone handed me the keys to a boat and say, here, let's go. That's what happens, right? That's how a lot of people learn how to run a boat. Is that really a safe way to first take on a boat?
No, not at all. I mean, anyone, and any adult can get the keys to a boat up to 65 feet and in New York State and take that boat away from the dock without any training whatsoever.
And Gina, what difference does it make that we change the law? Because you want to see this one made mandatory for everyone, that they
For
take
everyone.
a boat safety. Well, what do you think should be done?
I think it should be mandatory for everyone. Steve Stern, legislator Steve Stern, had passed Suffolk County Safer Waterways, and it was mandatory for everybody to take the boating safety courses.
Now, at one point, Suffolk County tried to address this issue, but what happened?
It passed. It was a law, and then the governor took it over, and the state supersedes the county law, so now...
A state court ruled that the state law supersedes the county law.
Correct.
Right.
Suffolk
Would have
County
required
enacted
it.
the law.
So there's been this attempt to do it, but it keeps falling short. How do our laws then in New York compare to, say, our neighbors, Connecticut and New Jersey?
Each of our neighbors, both Connecticut and New Jersey, have stricter boating laws, stricter ages of operation. Connecticut has a law on the books about children operating a boat of only a certain horsepower, and both of those states have mandatory education for all operators, and New York doesn't.
Yeah, and now, have you ever been shocked by what you have seen on the waterways yourself, Richard?
Oh, absolutely. If
Give us an example of what's happening in our waterways, because summertime is the time for fun and for showing off, too. I have to admit, some boaters really are just out there showing off.
Yeah, most of the problems are encountered where two boats are meeting each other or crossing each other's path, and the boat operators don't know who has what you might call the right-of-way. And boats just head towards each other, and if you're not paying attention, accidents happen.
Because in your family's case, it really came out of the blue, the boat, right? You didn't get much warning.
They came completely out of the blue, and we were going like 5 to 10 miles an hour, and when they hit us at full throttle, and they came up and over the top of my boat and ripped off our canopy.
Yeah, I mean, people might have this idea that you crash a boat and then they bounce off each other or something,
No.
but no. These boats can actually go up on top of you, because especially with the speed and the water, the angle of the water, right,
Sure.
Rich?
Yeah, and there aren't things in place such as for a motor vehicle, impact ratings and things like that. So if you're involved in a boating accident, it's usually tragic.
Now, we should point out you also own a boat safety business, so clearly you would be in favor of something like this. Your business would be booming after it. Is that why you're doing this?
Of course, that's correct, but that's not why I'm doing this. I've been a boater for many years. I've seen many things on the water, and I just want people to be safe. We teach a lot of courses at no charge.
So what
the real
next,
goal is
Gina?
that.
So you do something for free, too, I understand. That's right. So now, what next, Gina? Any way of reviving this attempt to get it mandatory to have boat safety instruction for anybody operating a boat in New
That's
York?
what we're working on right now. Andrew Rea, Assemblyman.
One of the assemblymen. There's
Yes.
some legislation that's brewing. Well, we certainly wish you well with it. Gina Leineck, Richard Werner, thank you so much for coming in and talk about what the situation is, that not everybody out there on the boat is required to prove that they know how to operate it. Is that a risk to you? That battle goes on. Thank you so much.